Hi babes, it's Grace and welcome back to Eternal Grace. Today I am channeling my inner Regina George because I have a message for you. So the Lord gave me this word multiple times today through multiple people, and I feel like I need to pass it along as you enter your new week. And that is the message of you do not need to seek approval from anyone. And I think Regina George is the perfect muse for this topic because she did not seek anyone's approval. She made decisions, she set the trends, and she decided who fit in or out of her own standards. She lost herself a little bit at the end and wound up getting out of her own standard, but that's not what we're here for today. We were talking about the icon that is Miss Regina George, and I want you to channel her as you move forward in your week so that you can make decisions that stick, make changes that last, and show up as your best self so that you can grow into a more evolved version of you that is more fruitful, hotter, healthier, and more successful. So let's chat. So as you know, I am the eldest daughter, and that comes with a lot of mind a lot of the time for me. But most recently, I've been facing some friction in the expectations that I've put on myself and the way that I show up in my family versus the way that is healthy for me to show up, for me to be true to myself and my service unto the Lord and not completely lose myself and drown in the madness. And so when we think about someone like Regina George, she created, for one, an environment that worked for her. I'm not saying that you should create a clique of wannabe yous, but she created an environment for herself that worked. She wanted power, she wanted control, she wanted leadership. And so she created an environment that was curated for that to be successful for her. She created a clique that reflected herself back to her and was very affirmative. She created a school environment wherein she was the queen bee. And that all of those different facets of her social life were different affirmations of her identity. She dressed like she cared about herself. She put herself together in a way that was very much her. She understood her personal brand. And so if these are boxes you have unchecked in your life, I'd advise you to start thinking about them, because I think I have a pretty solid sense of style, the way I put myself together. I feel like my makeup and my clothing is my armor when I go out into the world. Having some control over how I'm perceived is really the only thing that you can control besides your own action when you go out into the world. And so I take it very seriously. But the environmental curation is something I'm working on. And if you're like me and you live at home and you don't have a lot of control of what happens outside of your own room, let's talk about a few ways that you can curate your environment a little bit more. Number one, routine, morning routine, night routine. I'm still working on this one. I'm having some form of structure so that you know when you wake up. Merritt, stop. My dog has this like self-soothing paw licking thing, and it's like, it irks my sensory icks so much. So I hope you can't hear it. Sorry about that. But giving yourself some structure can really help your nervous system feel safe. If your body wakes up and it knows, okay, we're going to go into prayer, and then we're going to meditate, and then we're going to affirm with some affirmations or a podcast, or look at pictures of what we want and what we're working towards, and we're going to write a to-do list, and then we're going to exercise, and there's sort of a flow that can really help provide structure in a world that gives you almost none. In the movie, we know that Regina creates structure through wardrobe as well. Day to day, she knows what she's wearing. On Wednesdays, we wear pink, obviously, ponytail once a week, and so on. but giving yourself also some form of parameters is helpful so that you can have some form of expectation. And it also gives you something to show up for. So if you're depressed or struggling with your motivation, having a set, this is what I'm doing today, at least at the bare minimum, gives you like that little dopamine hit of success without doing too much. And making that regulated can help make your dream goal more achievable. So if you have a fitness goal, having a baseline step standard each day that you hit can help you ultimately achieve that goal, and also give you the daily just boost of having shown up for yourself in that small way. And then you have the nervous system regulation of having the structure. I hope that makes sense. So curation of environment, and then of course curation of people is really important. And like I said, when you live at home, it's really hard to curate your environment socially, but be cognizant of who you spend time with outside of your family. So if that's a friend that's actually a secret hater, maybe it's time to get rid of that friend, or someone that sabotages you or your progress. They've got to go, right? But if you have an environment that you can seek, community in, but is fruitful and beneficial to you, then that is something that you want within your circle, right? Something we can take from Regina is that she had people around her that affirmed her and did not negate her. So obviously her word was law and she made it that way, but she had Gretchen and Karen around because they affirmed her. They affirmed her self-beliefs. They affirmed her identity as a leader and as the queen bee, right? And I'm not saying to take it to that extreme, but you should have people around you that see you for who you are and see you for the person that you can be. And obviously this is a struggle sometimes, but if people are determined to see you as your worst self only, like if you have a friend that you met when you were at your lowest and they can only really see you as that version of yourself, they might need to go because you're evolving. And if they're not also evolving and they can't see you in the infinity of greatness that you can achieve, then they're going to hold you back, because every step that you take further is going to look like a threat to them, and not only their self-identity, but their identity of you in their minds, which is not really your problem. So curation of environment, curation socially, right? And then something else that I think is important is being able to know when to press mute. So Regina has something else in common with us in living at home, right? She's a high schooler. But for those of us that are living at home, sometimes you cannot control the feedback that you get, the communication that you're surrounded by, right? And all the time it can be really toxic, really negative. But you need to know when to hit mute in your mind. And something that Regina is really good at is knowing when to hit mute on her mother. Now, obviously, you need to be respectful, especially living at home, but being mindful of when you internally tune in and out of a conversation, and being mindful of what you're letting impact your aura, your vibe, your vibration is really important, because there will always be someone trying to drag you down to theirs, and very rarely someone trying to pull you up to theirs, because misery loves company, and happy people are often more solo because they've curated their joy. They've gotten to this peaceful place with the Lord that they don't want threatened by human beings. And I just know that to be true about myself, and I know it's true about a lot of other content people I know. They seek some level of solitude, or at least they seek other people who have reached that point of joy, because hanging around negative people, discontent people, struggling, suffering people brings them down, brings their vibe down, and it just breeds like ugliness and nothing that you can afford, because you're too blessed for that, right? So in the movie, Regina quite literally shoos her mother out of the room when she's like overstepped, and a lot of the time, like I said, you can't do that, but in your mind you have to be affirming, like, this does not apply to me, or I am blessed, or I am well, I am happy, I am safe, I am content when someone is coming at you with all of that negative energy and negative statement, because a lot of the time people like to portray their version of reality as truth because it's true to them, but it's not always true to you. And you have to be mindful about what you're allowing to be your truth, because a lot of the time the human experience wants to amplify things that aren't God's truth for them, right? God only wants the very best for us, and that's why we have to read our Bible and be vigilant about the beliefs that we maintain, because a lot of the time we're entertaining things that have nothing to do with us as princesses of the Most High. So yeah, so that's my main point for this video. You get to choose. You are the dictator of your own reality. I live on planet Grace. You live on planet You, and you need to be vigilant. But nobody needs to get it. Nobody needs to give their stamp of approval, and you get to veto anything that does not align with the Lord's will for you. And you know that the more you read this precious book. So be mindful and read it daily and eat it up, because that's your daily bread. But yeah, I think sometimes, especially if you're a daughter or an eldest, you can relate to the wanting to be affirmed. I think everybody wants to be affirmed in some extent, right? But I think the parental application of that can run deep for eldest children. And so I want to remind you that you don't owe anyone anything but God. When you pass away, He's the only one that's going to be holding you accountable for how you spent your time here, and you are the one that gets to experience the way that you spend your time here the most closely. Your person is the only person that you're truly responsible for in this world. I'm responsible for Grace and getting Grace's missions done, and making Grace as hot and healthy as possible, and making sure that Grace has a good life experience. And everyone else is responsible for themselves, and obviously you serve them the best that you can, but when it comes to compromising on your health, your peace, your joy, we've gone beyond service and into people-pleasing territory, and that's just not where we belong. So I want you to be a little bitchier this week. I want you to be more Queen Bee and less Gretchen this week. Can you do that? I don't know about you, but I've been serving Gretchen lately, and it's like kind of cringy. So rewatch Mean Girls if it's been a while. I think I'm due for a rewatch myself, and throw on a tank top, and remember that you're too pretty for the BS, and you're too favored to walk out of alignment with your purpose. So God needs you where He needs you. He doesn't need you to be everybody's everything. Okay? I love you. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I will talk to you soon. Okay? Bye.